What are we doing today? Well, this is an impromptu event because we've got some amazing irises blooming in the neighborhood and in my garden. So, you may have joined me previously to draw and dissect some really cool flowers from my garden, including the bleeding heart flowers and the Easter lily. But this one's even more interesting and complex. So, in case you're new here, hi, I'm Christine, and I'm a naturalist, environmental educator, and visual artist, scientific illustrator, actually, in Southern Oregon. And I love to come on live and connect with my viewers and do these fun interactive things. So, I hope you have a sketchbook with you or just a pencil and paper. Oh, but don't worry, even if you don't have anything, just come and enjoy. You'll learn a lot, and you can always sketch later. I'd also love to know with you live viewers if any of you have irises blooming in your yard. I did suggest in my email to pick one if you have one and bring it with you. You might also have the reference photos that I sent to my email list. But we are going to be sketching from these real ones. I did want to mention that since we are drawing these hybrids, I did want to make clear that, of course, this is a very large family. And there are many, many natives. And here's just a few of them that we have here in the Pacific Northwest of Washington and California and Oregon. I really enjoy seeing especially the Douglas iris and the Western blue flag. That's another very common one we have here. These photos are from an amazing website called calscape.org. So anyway, just remember that there are lots of natives. Tell me again in the chat box if you have any natives. Elaine says you used to live in New Jersey and you had iris. But in Arizona, they don't support them, right? Because they do like it to be a bit moister. Yeah. So anyway, though, today we are focusing on this hybrid that you can find all over. This was developed by wild species that lived in the Mediterranean, and there are actually thousands of cultivars. So these are horticultural varieties that we're drawing today. But again, remember, everything that we've domesticated and put in our gardens and our farms and all of our pets are somehow cultivars or hybrids or domesticated from the wild. So you will find very similar, although a bit simpler anatomy in your wild irises. And Deb is here saying she's from Cape Cod and it's chilly. Yes, it's a bit chilly here. And I'm glad you like to sketch the favorite flower, right? So anyway, we are talking about the iris family. Now, this is closely related to lilies. And so they have six-parted flowers and they have long linear leaves that are with parallel venation. And there's always a lot of moving around of the taxonomy because some people are lumpers and some people are splitters in terms of how many families there are related to lilies and irises. But we'll just call irises their own family for now. And there's over 1,600 species. They really are cosmopolitan, but there are a lot of species in the tropical Americas and in South Africa, which is one of my favorite botanical areas to talk about because there's a lot of weird endemic, especially succulents in South Africa. So again, these cultivated varieties are a bit more fancy and complicated, but still have the same male and female parts as your wild ones. So we're going to dissect this one. And I did a few practice sketches here. Dissecting this one, and it'll be even easier for you to see the other anatomy in your wild species. So this family also includes some other things you probably are familiar with, like gladiolus, and also crocus. So you might know that saffron, the very expensive spice, that bright orange spice, actually comes from the anthers or the pollen of the crocus. So, really big, important, widespread family. Freesias are also in this family, the Iridaceae or iris family. And yeah, a lot of other natives, like I said. And so take a look outside next time to look for some. Now, I do want to just say a few more things before we get started. This is a great book if you really love botany and also if you love beautiful drawings. Wendy Zomlifer, she wrote this, so she's both botanically trained as well as a scientific illustrator, and it's filled with beautiful illustrations. And this is where I learned some of the science that we're going to chat about today. So we're going to draw and dissect our flower, and then I also wanted just to mention a couple of other books that I really love for learning how to draw flowers. There's this botanical illustration from Life. I can show you guys these again later. This one by a friend of mine, Mindy Lighthype, The Art of a Botanical and Bird Illustration. She's incredible. She leads tours in Costa Rica. This one from the Kew Gardens, which are the famous gardens in outside of London, and Botany for the Artist. This is another really amazing book, and it just happens to have one of my favorite species on it, the carnivorous pitcher plant flower. Even if you don't have anything to draw with, that's okay, but it is nice to be able to follow along if you can. So yeah, we're going to be looking at the parts of the flower and just doing pencil drawings, but you could always add color afterwards. And so I've already dissected a few flowers for fun, but let's do it again. Let's see. It's nice to have some dissecting materials. Tell me in the chat box if you joined me for dissecting the bleeding hearts or the Easter lily. Since these were popular activities, I decided that I would continue on and do it here because we have so many wonderful plants blooming in our neighborhood and our gardens. Okay, so let's first look at the whole plant here. So they just always have one stem and they come up from a tuber. They have these really flat, interesting, very simple leaves that kind of wrap around the stem. And then there's just one stem with several flowers, and these are maturing as they go up. And each flower is surrounded by these little protective bracts that protect it from the frost. And yeah, so then you can see the flower peeking out. Joey, you said you missed those due to storms and internet issues. Well, Joey, if you go back in your emails, try to find the email related to those. I think those StreamYard lives are still up somewhere. And so here's another one that's opening a bit more. So the flower at the end of the stem opens first, and then they mature as they go down. Really nice, strong stem here. So yeah, each stem has several flowers coming out. And then this flower is, and again, surrounded by the bracts and these beautiful kind of wavy petals. All right. And then here's one. So we have a few different ones here. I already dissected one of them. This is the one from our garden, and this is the one from the neighbor's garden. So they come again in hundreds of different varieties. I think I read that there's like over 1,000 cultivated varieties of iris. And they all come from this iris, the bearded iris, that is a native to the Mediterranean. And that is a hybrid too. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to start opening this up. And yeah, here's the other one that we had as well. And so, yeah, I think I'll open this one because I already did this one. But again, they all have the basic same anatomy or, parts. So, just a moment. So, where am I? I got too many pieces of paper here. So a basic flower, you don't have to do this, but I just want to show you the basic flower anatomy is you've got some kind of a stem, and that's often actually called a peduncle. And then you have generally the next whorl are the sepals. And then inside that, the next whorl is the petals. And then inside that are the male parts, the anthers that have the pollen. And then in the very center is the female stigma, style, and ovary. And that will go down here to the ovary in the middle. So all flowers have some kind of arrangement like this. And they might look really different, like these flowers and like orchids, or they might look pretty similar to this. So we are going to see all of these layers as we tear this flower apart and look at it. So I think in case, sorry, now this is under me. So in case you haven't joined me before, I love to teach people about the natural world through a sketching process. And it really helps if you know the anatomy of something, as well as like the behavior, if it's an animal, to draw it more accurately. And you'll really understand and appreciate it more. And so that's why I always start out with the anatomy. And some people might want to just skip right to making a pretty picture, but there's lots of people online that can do that and just straight ahead, draw or paint a pretty flower for you. But I really like to include the science behind it, the anatomy and taxonomy, and it's just really fun and interesting too. So let me go back to this. Oops, wait, where am I? Let me go back. Can never remember how to do this. Okay, there we go. So yeah, so a basic flower has these different layers, and we're going to have that too, but it's super, super modified. And so we are going to dissect this flower first and draw the parts, and then we'll draw the whole flower, and it'll be much easier for you to understand it, okay? So I'm going to tear this flower off, and these other flowers, they might even open if I put them in a container of water. Maybe I'll do that here. I got a container of water here so they won't wilt. Okay, so tell me if you have, let's see, tell me if you, if you're growing iris, if they're in the neighborhood, if you're going to be able to see one in person. Okay, so anyway, we have the stem here. Oh, wait, sorry. I kind of, oops, it's really wet. I broke off the, let's actually do this one because it's smaller. So yeah, so here we've got the side view, and it's kind of the same idea as I was talking about earlier. So we have the stem, and this stem is enlarged into the ovary, and we'll do a cross section of that in a minute. And then it comes up into these sepals and petals. But very often in members of like the lily family and its neighbors, like the iris, these don't look like sepals. So they call the sepals and the petals tepals, kind of halfway between sepals and petals. And so they each have a different name. These are three-parted. And so we've got, oh, actually the outer whorl, instead of being called sepals, these ones that stand upright, There's 3 of those, and those are called standards. And again, we're going to draw each part in a minute just to give you a big idea before we start taking it apart. And so there's 3 of these standards and then 3 of the ones that are reflexed downward. Okay. And those are called falls, as in falling down. Okay. And then if you look right in the middle, there's actually nothing in the middle. It's kind of interesting because the female parts, which would normally be in the middle, are arched over to be on top of these falls. And these falls also have this colored yellow beard. You would think this would be the pollen, but it's not. So these fall tepals, they have these colored parts and these lines, and these help the pollinator to see, to be guided. And a lot of flowers actually have UV guides. And so the pollinator is going to be going inside here and kind of pushing open this part here and going in there to the base. And that's where the nectar is. And as they push through in there, the pollen from the last flower they visited is going to brush against this female stigma. And then eventually that pollen grain grows down all the way down to this developing ovary and fertilizes the seeds. And so we'll do a cross section of that. All righty. And so then on top of the fall is the female part. And again, it's kind of hard to see until we tear it apart. But I'm just showing you first. And so the female stigma is kind of wrapped around the male pollen, the anthers. So yeah, we're going to take this apart now. Isn't this fun? So I like to have these little forceps, and I have a knife to do a cross section. And so again, the outermost whorl, instead of being sepals, it's called the standard. So I'm pulling that off, and you can see it's got a little narrow area and then the petaloid part. And this is what it looks like from the inside, and this is what it looks like from the outside, because it's kind of arching towards the inside. Okay. And then the next layer is, instead of being called a petal, it's called a fall. And that's this part. And that's the part that has this beautiful beard part. It's funny, they call these bearded irises, but the wild irises have a little bit of this too. But then anyway, you see these beautiful guides, these nectar guides that show up a different color in UV, and it helps the bee. These are mainly bee pollinated because you have to be pretty strong insect to force your way into this little tunnel. Okay. So then the next layer in is the male part. Oh, you won't be able to see it unless I put this black piece of paper. So that male part is actually kind of under the roof of the female part. And when I tear that off, and you can see it against the black, you've got the stem, which is the filament, and then you have the anther, which bears the pollen. And so those are kind of protected under this wide part. So the innermost whorl is the female part. And that's this part. And so that is called the stigma style, and then goes to the ovary. So you wouldn't be able to guess. Oh, I know. Wait, sorry. I forgot I can get closer here. Let's see. Which one was it? Does it do? Oh, there we go. Cool. So yeah, this is the pollen bearing anthers. And then this is the female part. And you would never guess, but it's actually hollow, and it has a ridge here. And so this part here, it's a little two-parted lip-like thing. And that's actually the style crest. But underneath here, there's this little tiny lip. I don't know if you can see that. Tell me if you can see it. There's this little lip here. And that's actually where the pollen from a different flower will go into that, and it will grow down that purple area right there inside. And you can see it's kind of arched, and there's a little ridge here actually where that hollow area is, and it grows all the way down to the ovary. And so now you can see kind of inside. The base here is where the nectar is made. And of course, that is one of the rewards. So if you're in my membership, you would have joined me for my pollinators and plants masterclass last month. So anyway, Suzanne was there. Suzanne, you said you see it. Great. So anyway, here is where the nectar is made, and most pollinators are seeking either nectar or pollen or both. So there's got to be a reward for the pollinator. They don't just move the pollen around and help the plant make seeds for fun. Okay, so anyway, then so it's a little bit more obvious here to see the this side view here, where there were three falls, three standards, which make up the tepals or the sepals and petals, and then the male anthers here, just three of those, and then three parted female stigma, style, and ovary. And then we need to make a cross section of this. So I'm going to cut this. How can I cut this? I want to cut it so you can still see. Oops. Gotta do it just right. Oh, there. Got it just right. There we go. There. So here's the outside and there's the inside. Okay. Can you see that? So the pollen grain has to go all the way down here to the ovary. And here's the outside of the ovary, and here's the inside. And you see inside there's some little seeds that are going to be developing. So each pollen grain has to grow all the way down into here and fertilize an ovule to create a seed. And then this will enlarge to be a capsule type fruit. And also, if you're in my nature sketching membership, you would have joined me for my fruits masterclass. So that's going to be a three-parted ovary, and you might see a little bit of shadow, longitudinal shadows here. Okay, what do you guys think about that? Any questions so far before we start drawing it? I think I'll arrange this. Great. Okay. Oops, wait, maybe go back. There we go. This is cool. This new thing I have. Okay. All righty. So let's just kind of draw sort of like what I have here, but we're going to do it together because that's how you learn by drawing. Okay. So, but I've kind of ruined this. I got it all wet. Let me turn it over. Okay, tell me who's following along. Okay, so anyway, I'm just gonna kind of draw these a little bit quickly, um, because we will do a more realistic version in a minute. Yes, Suzanne says yes. So anyway, this is the center part, kind of like this. There's this little narrow area, and then this part. And you don't have to be very exact. It's because, flowers can be really variable. Kind of looks like an oak leaf. Anybody remember the name of these three upright parts? The three upright tepals. Anybody remember the name? Maybe I should draw these in pen so you can see them better. So yeah, they have a nice wavy edge. And yeah, they come in lots of colors again, depending on the cultivar. So like these ones are kind of bluish purple. These ones are kind of reddish purple. Deb said the standards. Very good. So this is the standard teeple. Again, whenever you have sepals and petals that look similar, they don't use those terms. They call it a teeple. And so that's really not having anything to do with the reproductive part. It's just part of the showy flower. Flowers need to be showy so they can attract pollinators from a distance. Uh, and then, so next to that, here we are again, next to that is this other part. And I'll just put that over here. And so it has kind of a narrow area. It's hard to get things. And then it has the beard, the yellow beard. And then it has all these really cool lines. Okay, and so what's the name of this type of teeple? We got three standard teeples. Anybody remember the name of the ones that come down? Like a waterfall. Yes, Deb, great. So these are the fall tepals. Again, three-parted. So, all of these monocot kind of plants, like the lilies and things, have three-parted flowers. Okay. And then, so if we see this side view here, actually, I'm going to just tear this whole thing apart so you can see it better. So here's the side view. And so you can see how this fall kind of falls down, and the standard would have been in front here, so it would have hidden it. And so now we see the fall, and it's kind of arched, and you can imagine how the bee would be pushing down. They'd have to open up this part. Okay. So you can see that really well, that side view. And that it really helps to look at things from a lot of different angles. So, like, again, if I was going to kind of, we'd have the, oops, we'd have the fall kind of arching like this with the beard. And then inside of that, we'd have the female part, which is also arching. And then we'd have the anther kind of here. So I can pull out that anther now. Oops. And that anther, yeah, put it over here so you can see it against the black paper here, right? So, yeah, that's the next layer. Again, the standards are outside, then the falls, and then the male anthers. So we have the male anthers. And so those are have a little stem or filament, and then the pollen bearing anther. It's kind of two pieces like that. uh, and then so this female part is quite kind of complex. So the female part, if I just looked at it from the front, and I'm going to draw it larger, it's got these two little, it's almost like a forked tongue of a, it's almost kind of a forked tongue. I don't know how to, sorry, I don't know how to draw that. It's kind of overlapping. Oh, that's terrible. Anyway, at the base of that is this little flap. So we have the this crest. It's like this two-parted part. Kind of again looks like a snake tongue. And then it comes down, and this little flappy flap, which I'm sure you can't see. It's a little, it's so small. I don't think you can see it. Anyway, so that's the actual stigma. It's not really obvious compared to the stigmas of the Easter lily were really obvious. So that's where the pollen grains from the anthers are going to drop on here, and then they're going to grow down, 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 and down into the ovary. So, so actually, the stigma and then the style, it's called the style arm, sort of, and that part is kind of hugging those anthers. It's just really crazy how they do that. It's like a little umbrella above the anther. Does that make sense? And then, so yeah, that pollen grain has to grow down here. And so if we look at this cross section, again, we cut this as a cross section. This is the actual ovary in here. And depending on the age, you will see little tiny ovules or actually bigger seeds. But yeah, that pollen grain has to grow, come down here, all the way down here, just like a sperm in a mammal has to travel to fertilize the eggs. Joey said, I'm explaining it very well. Oh, that's good. That's good. Good. Okay. So I think I actually did a little bit better job because I wasn't talking at the same time in my practice. So before we actually draw the flower, which we'll do like this on another piece of paper, yeah, let's just again look at this is the whole flower, and then the it's got an inferior ovary, which all of the lilies and irises and such do. That means it's below kind of where the sepals and petals are coming out. And that's down there where you have that crispy, papery like spathe, or bract, which is protecting the flower. And we saw those completely protecting the bud here, these little papery parts. And then the stem of the flower. So yeah, like we drew here, at the base of that, at the base of the flower, we have the inferior ovary and the seeds developing. And then you have this kind of a ridge where the that papery bract is, and eventually dries and falls off. And then again, inside that ovary is where we're going to be developing the seeds, and then it will become a three-parted capsule. Oh, I have a really good example. I can't get it right now. My house is completely torn apart because many of you know I'm moving into my art studio in the backyard, and it's a mess. Today I'm going to be painting the floor. Well, probably tomorrow because I'm doing a Earth Day thing. Painting the floor tomorrow. Okay. Anyway, so again, if we go to the next layer in, those are the standards, and they have this thin kind of arm, and then sort of wavy. And then we have the falls, and those are the ones with those beards and the nectar guides, and those are also kind of wavy. We're not trying to show the three-dimensional parts. And then the next layer in is the male part, and that's the filament arm with the two uh, structures that hold the pollen grains. Pollen. Yeah. And then the innermost layer is always the female, and that's where we have those kind of two-parted, kind of snake tongue style crest. Then we have the stigma, where those pollen grains are going to land. And then that style arm that's protecting or sheltering, or like an umbrella over the male parts and right above where that beard is. Okay, isn't that crazy? So who's actually ready to draw a real flower? Tell me if you understand all these parts. This is just so interesting. And so, yeah, we're going to draw the flower. And yeah, there's so many pretty versions of this. But yeah, you can understand how difficult it would be to understand how to draw this if you hadn't already looked at these parts, right? And again, these are much more fancy and complex than wild irises. Just like our cultivated roses, which I also have in the garden, instead of having just 5 petals like a wild rose out in nature, they have, dozens of petals. And similarly, when you get a cultivated variety of a plant, they're usually trying to make them fancier. But yeah, they've got all the same parts. So if you can understand and draw this one, you'll be able to draw the next ones. Now, this one I think is a little bit too dark to show up very well, but I think it might be fun to just draw a stem first so that we understand, and then draw the flower here. How's that? So Suzanne says she's ready. So again, I'm just drawing with my pen because a lot of times I draw in the field directly, and I use a waterproof pen like this Tombow Fudenosuke, which my friend Marley Pfeiffer turned me on to. And so It's nice to draw with a pen in the field, and then you can add watercolor to it if you want. And I actually have my watercolors. I didn't mention watercolors today, but I might add those. We have time. So I did do a drawing earlier in pencil, and these are my pencil drawings. And so I'll just draw in pen to just show you how I do that. So yeah, it's nice when you're drawing a plant, especially if you want to try to identify it, to draw all the parts. And so I'm not going to add the leaf, but so I'm just going to draw a quick sketch as if we're in the field of this part, and then we'll draw a big flower right here, the whole flower. Okay, the same one we dissected because that'll be make a little bit more sense. And I think if you do add color, that will help you because there's so many overlapping parts. It's kind of hard when you just start adding all these lines. They kind of blend in together. Now, some of the wild irises are more obvious. Yeah, I'm looking at them right now. Well, no, they pretty much look the same, the falls and standards. Although the falls are the ones that always have the beard part and the nectar. Although the wild ones don't really have much of a beard. That's why these are called bearded iris. So, but the falls always have some kind of nectar guides, whereas the standards are just a plain, generally solid color. Okay, so anyway, you guys have probably already drawn this now. So how would I do this in the field? Um, so yeah, I'm just gonna kind of draw where I'm gonna be, and then kind of draw a stem. Nice, solid, beefy stem, because these are pretty, beefy flowers. And then I have just gonna draw that one. So here we just see the bract, the protective bract mainly, and a little bit of the bud coming out of that. And then, so I can firm up my other lines here. And then we have this bud, and this is actually two flowers because the stem between the two hasn't lengthened like it has here. And so on this flower, we've got the bract, and then we've got the other flower kind of coming out of its own bract like this, and then the purple part right there, and then we've got the actual petals, which they're just wavy like that. Okay, so anyway, that's that. And yeah, it'll be more fun and make more sense when you add color. But you see, you really can sketch in the field with a pen, and you've got still some try marks here, but that's okay. Pens last better in the field, especially so they won't smear. Okie dokie. Now let's do our flower. So I think I'm gonna cover that up so it's not confusing us. And I'll put the flower right here. So yeah, this is dark colored, so it might be hard for you to see the parts, but and I think this is kind of pretty accurate how it would look. It would be nice if it wasn't squished against the paper. How could we do that? Oh, I know, here. So sometimes I'll just take maybe there. So now this isn't being squished against the paper, and it's a little bit more realistic how it would because those falls. So, yeah, anyway, so we don't see all the parts here. Oh, that's interesting. Let me see if I can when I put my hand here, it lightens it, doesn't it? I wonder if I can lighten. Uh, oh, does that help a bit? That makes it a little bit lighter. Anyway, you don't have to see everything. You don't have to show everything. Um, Jack Laws often says, know more than you show, so that at least you understand. And, we have the beautiful bearded part here in the falls. We have the three falls. We can kind of see those. We have two of the standards, and then the back standard is hiding. Joey says, looks good. Okay. Yeah, and I'm trying to make this very much of a side view. Okay, I'll just stop moving it there. Okay, so we can draw that. And again, I'm just going to go in with pen and yeah, I'm just going to go in with pen. So I'm it's always confusing when I'm drawing something three-dimensional. If I look at it on my board, it's going to look different than it looks to you. So I think I would just where would I start? I'm just going to go like this and kind of go like this and kind of go like that. And then like this. Okay. Yeah, you just do your own thing here. Yeah, I wish the light was, it's just never easy to brighten that up. Don't know if that helps. But anyway, so what do I have here? Yeah, it really reads a lot better once you add color, doesn't it? I think. Here's one of my falls. And here's another one of my falls. Yeah, I always get confused whether I should draw what you guys see or draw what I see. Oh, it's confusing, isn't it? Kind of looking sort of ugly. I'm sorry. I'm sure yours is better. Uh, that's pretty ugly. Oh, well. Yeah, it definitely reads better. Something complicated like this once you get some color on it. Paper is driving me nuts. You're hating me. You're like, Christine, you keep moving it. Yeah, I just feel like I really want to add some color. That'll help a bit, I think. So I'm going to add these really obvious. That's middle obvious. And then what else? We've got the green. What do I have here? A lot of times I just kind of mix right on the paper. Again, if I'm pretending that I'm painting in the field, I'll mix my colors right on here. So I might add a little bit more yellow. I see there's some little bit of purple in here. And then let's see, we have kind of some different shades of purple. Now from my angle, I don't get to see these cool nectar guides. We've got kind of a lighter purple and a darker purple. Let's see, how am I going to make that? I think I'm going to see what this makes. And a lot of times I might just go a little bit here. That's not quite it. Oh, that's almost perfect right there. Woohoo. So then if you think you have something perfect, you might want to make sure you mix up enough of it. So I might just start doing a first layer and then add some shadows. And this is not watercolor paper, actually. This is Bristol board. So it's going to look kind of streaky. And oh, I should add some, speaking of streaks, you do see a few of these white nectar guides on the edge of this one. Okay. And yeah, I might want to make it a little bit richer here, especially this close petal. Kind of emphasize that it's closer maybe. Oh, that's prettier. And I don't know. It's looking pretty flat. But yeah, sometimes I just modify my colors right here on the paper. Oh gosh, something like that. Okay, that's kind of a mess. Um, and I could pretend there's some flowers in the background or something with some stems. So thank you for joining me, all you live and replay viewers. I hope you enjoyed learning a bit about these beautiful, beautiful irises, and I hope it's inspired you to go out and find some native ones in your area. We didn't have any native ones blooming right now in my town, so that's why I used these bearded irises from the garden, which is probably something you'd be more likely to have as well. But I hope I've inspired you to go look for some of the native irises and their relatives, because these are sort of similar to lilies that you might see in the field as well. I hope to see you around, and yeah, take care. Gotta go. Okay, have a wonderful Earth Day. Bye-bye.